Hi guys, this is day 2 session. In the day 1 session, we already discussed about these things, right? How to run the application, simple application. Okay, this is the day 1 session. You see here, I have added only one dependency, this one, and one demo application. And I shown you how to run this application. This is the day 1. The day 2, so I am going to explain these things, annotations. What are the annotations for Spring Boot? These annotations I am going to explain. Okay, yeah, you see here at the rate Spring Boot, you already knows this is responsible to run the application. Okay, and at the rate REST controller and remain on all things, right? I am going to explain one by one. Okay, yeah, before going to explain these annotations, just write one simple API on get API using with the get mapping and REST. With these two combinations I'm going to write and I will show you. Okay, for this what I am doing, I am creating a package. The package, what is the package? Controller. Okay, so I'm creating a class. I'm creating employee controller. Okay, so here on top of this employee controller, I am using this @REST controller. These are the annotations. This is responsible for controllers. Okay, so while starting the applications, it will detect and it will run. Now I am writing one simple API. That API will return only one string. Okay, that is get ename, get employee name. Okay, that it will return the employee name. You can write anything. I am writing this name. That's your wish. You can write anything. You can write your name. Okay, what is the annotations I am writing? These are the annotations, guys. You see here, if you click command space or control space, it will shows in the suggestions. These are the suggestions it will give. I am using this one, get mapping, get emp. You can write anything, get emp name. Okay, this is very simple application, so only I'm using two annotations. This is on top of the class and this is for top of the method. This is the API. This is the endpoint we are calling. What we are calling? Endpoint API. Okay, API endpoint. Okay, now let me start the application. So how to start the application? You see here, come to the demo applications and you can right click and you can run this one, or you can debug this one. You have the two options, or else you can directly run. You see, if you select this is the class, right? Demo application is the class. You can run it here or here. If you want debug, you can run it here, or if you want simply if you want start, you can run it. Okay, okay, application started. Now come to here. So where to come? Yeah, for this we need a postman. Okay, so for get, no need postman. You can directly hit from here. You see, this is responding, right? This is responding, get ename, and if you come here, get emp name. This is today's session, right? I explained this one. So I have created API, this one, get emp name. Okay, this one it will return. Okay, now the same thing you can get experience on postman. So I'm going to hit from here. What is not getting? Okay, this is endpoint name, get employee name, get emp name. This is the endpoint name. You see, you will get the response here. This is the postman. You can download from the Google and you can install in your local machine. This is the postman. Okay, now you see, I've written the get mapping. Okay, now I explained @get mapping. Get mapping, when we are going to use, so suppose if you want to retrieve the data from database or somewhere else, if you want to retrieve the data, then you can use for the get mapping. Okay, @REST controller on top of the class you have to mention. Okay. This, okay, fine, right? I will go to explain others also. Okay, let me copy this and now let me stop this one. Okay, post mapping, I am changing to post mapping. This is also one of the annotations. Let me import this, import to class. Once you import, it will show here. Okay, post mapping, generally post mapping to store the data into the either you can store anywhere. You can store in your local database, or you can store into the AWS S3 bucket, or you can store into the any file structure. That's your choice. So for storing the data, we are going to use post mapping. Okay, after storing, this is the success message. Usually after storing the data, what we will give the user, so successfully uploaded or successfully inserted, so that kind of message we will give, right? So here what we need to do, you can write the logic. So for this time I'm not writing anything, just returning success. Usually we have to write a logic to store the data into the database or somewhere else. This session I'm explaining only these annotations. So the next upcoming session I will explain that also. Okay, this is for post mapping. I'm changing this annotation, save emp. Okay, and so for storing the data, we need some data, right? We need the data as input. So we are taking the data, you can use request parameter or request body. So this time I am explaining the request parameter, request param. This I am explaining. Request body also you can use. I will explain in the next sessions that one. Okay, the string eid and ename and phone number. So employee have these three details, you can store into the database or whatever, but I'm not going to write that logic to store into the database. Okay, just I'm returning this one. Okay, let me start it. So last time I have started in I have run the application, and now I am starting in the debug mode. Okay, I'm starting this application. What it is missing, 17,8. Okay, let it run. This application is running now. You see here Tomcat started on port 8080 and started the demo application. Now you go for Postman. Okay, now you see guys, so the save emp is the endpoint, and request parameters I am giving into here under param section. You see, this is the param section, this is the eid I am giving one, and ename giving this one, and phone number. Okay, if I hit this API, so what I am expecting, I am expecting the success. Okay, let me hit. Now you guys, you see here, what is the eid I have given? 1. And what is the ename? This one. What is the phone number? The same phone number whatever I given in the Postman, it is coming to here. So here you can write a business logic. You can write a logic to store into the database, but this time I am not writing. Okay, simply it will return success. Okay, you can click this one. This is the way to debug. Okay, now you see the success message came, right? This is the post mapping. Okay, this is the post mapping use. Get mapping only for retrieving the data from database or somewhere else, or somewhere, that's your wish. Posting the data to store into the database, or store into the folder structure, or store into any cloud. So anything you want to store, you can use for post mapping. Okay, now we'll go for one more. Okay, patch mapping. What is this patch mapping? Okay, request parameter. Yeah, patch mapping is usually for partial update. EMP. Okay, the same I am giving partial update EMP. Okay, now you see guys, the patch mapping I am using, right, for updating the employee details. Okay, assume you have inserted here employee ID is 1 and employee name is something and employee phone number is 123. Okay, here what you are doing, you are partially updating employee ID with this phone number. What is the employee ID? Employee ID is 1, and what is the phone number you are giving? 900 you are giving. Okay, now you are updating only the phone number but not employee ID. The employee having 3 details, I mean employee having 3 columns, I mean 3 details, right? Employee ID and employee name and phone number, but we are not updating the full employee details, we are updating only the phone number. See here I am giving request parameter employee ID and phone number, updating the phone number. Okay, in this time, for partial updating time, we are using patch mapping. Which mapping? Patch mapping for partial update. So that's why I given even endpoint also. You see, partial update EMP, partial update, not full update, only partial update. If you want update the resource, here employee is the resource. Okay, if you want partially you want update, then you can use for patch mapping. What is the resource here? Employee object. If you want update on file, that is a resource. If you want update in database, that is also a resource. Suppose if you want take on image, in the image if you want to do something, so that is a partial. Okay, it's a resource. Okay, this one employee object is the resource. So we are partially updating, so that time we are using the patch mapping. But here I am not writing the logic. I am not writing the logic to update into the database. Next upcoming session I will explain that also. Okay, so partial update, patch mapping. Now let it start the application. Now I am starting in the debug mode. Okay, keep the debug pointer here. So this is the way to debug. You will get to know the flow, where we are, how it is coming from. Okay, now application is started on 8080 port number. The same I am giving into the postman. Okay, this is for patch mapping. Now I have given, you see, patch mapping, right? Patch mapping on what is this endpoint? Endpoint is this one. Let me give this one. Endpoint is this one. Okay, this is the endpoint, and you see this is the key and value pair. The phone number also we need, right? What is this EID I have given, and phone number I am giving. Phone number you can give something blah blah blah, you can give. Okay, this is the previous employee ID, you can give whatever. Okay, now send it. Now you guys, you see here what is the EID? EID is 1. You can watch here also. You see these are the parameters and phone numbers. You see, you can see in the debug mode. Phone number is this one. You can directly keep the cursor and it shows here, or else you can see in this window. Okay, whatever you have entered into the postman, those details it is coming to your Java applications, so you can debug and see. This is the patch mapping. Patch mapping is using for partial update, not full update. Partial update of the resource. Okay, what is the resource here? Resource is the employee object. Okay, what is the post mapping when to use? Let me complete this one. I will show you what it comes. This time it's return success rate, the same. Okay, now patch mapping also. Now you got it now. Okay, now we understand. Okay, patch mapping only for partial update. Post mapping is for inserting into the database or storing into the database or storing into somewhere else. So that time we can use, and get mapping only for fetching or retrieving time we are using. Okay, patch update, patch mapping. This is fine. So for partial updating we are using patch mapping. Suppose if I want update full update. Okay, if you want to do full update. So I have this employee object, employee ID, employee name, employee phone number. So I want to update entire the record in the database. Okay, so what should I do? So you can go for put mapping. Okay, let me copy this and paste it here. I'm stopping this. Okay, now update EMP. Update EMP. Okay, now initially we have inserted this into the database, and now I am updating employee ID, I am updating. Okay, and name also updating, and the phone number also updating. Okay, the full update. In this time we can use for put mapping. Okay, import this also. Okay, it's imported or not? Okay, star came, right? Okay, that's fine. Okay, now it will return the success. So you are updating the full resource, I mean full object, then you can go for put mapping. Okay, come here. Where is the put mapping? I think put mapping is not there. Let me copy and paste it. Okay, this is one more. And what is the this method? Which method? Put, right? Yeah, this is for put. Put mapping is for put. You see, get mapping for get, post mapping for post, and put mapping for put, patch mapping is for patch, delete for delete. Okay, now put, patch I already explained. Now this one. Okay, now I am changing. Initially it was there, and now I am changing to this one. Okay, now for updating the full resource I am using this one. Okay, what is the endpoint? Endpoint is this one. This is the endpoint. Let me update here. Okay, now send it. Oh, application is not started. Okay, let me start it. It is starting. Yeah, now it starting. Yeah, started the application. Now come here and hit from the postman, send. Now you see guys, now you got the data, right? Employee name and employee name. So you can update the date. You can update the full object. Okay, apply your own logic, your business logic. You can apply how you are applying, where you are applying this and all. Okay, let it complete. It is returning success. Okay, suppose if it is error, that is also you need to handle. You need to write here try catch block, that I will explain in the next upcoming session. Okay, this is for put mapping. Similarly, delete mapping. Okay, suppose if I want to delete, what you have to do? You have to do delete mapping instead of this delete mapping. Okay, delete emp. Okay, this is for delete, this is for update, right? Okay, this is for partial update. Okay, delete mapping for delete emp, and this is also delete emp. You can give anything, delete employee or employee something. That's your method name, is your choice, but this is endpoint name. Whatever you give here, you need to hit from the postman, this one, delete employee. Okay, now okay guys, you see here request mapping, right? This is for request mapping, right? Okay, you can give, instead of this directly, you can give path variable. You can give employee ID, path variable, that is also fine. Okay, you see, for delete mapping you are saying EID, right? Let me add debug pointer. Let me stop this one, so it will come to this one. Okay, okay, now you see I am giving. Let me start the application. Let it start. It is starting the application. I think it started. Okay, now we come here. You see I have selected this delete, and employee ID I have given one. Now you see here it came, right? It came here, right? Yes, this is delete mapping. Okay, this is path variable. What is the difference between path variable and request parameter? The path variable, you see how you are giving like this. I mean, after port number you are giving the employee ID here. After port number slash this is employee ID you are giving, so it will go here. Okay, this is path variable. Path variable means you are giving into the path. This is the path, right? So you are giving into the path, that is path variable. Suppose request parameter, let me complete this one. The request parameter, right? The request parameter, if you see here in the post under param section, you see you are giving here. So how it will form? It will form as a query string parameter. Okay, this it will form as a query string parameter. Under param sections you are giving, that is the difference. So how you are giving the input, that is the difference, nothing else. Path variable and request parameter. Okay, Guys, you see here, get mapping is just for using fetching or retrieving the data, and post mapping is using storing or inserting the data into the database or somewhere else, either AWS S3 or a folder structure, whatever, just storing the data. So that time we are using post mapping. And patch mapping just for partial update of the resource. Suppose if you take employee is the resource, okay, if you want update partially only phone number, if you want update for one employee ID, then you can go for patch mapping. And put mapping, if you want update the entire record of the one employee, then you can go for, entire means one full update of employee, then you can go for put mapping. And this delete particular employee ID, if you want delete, then you can delete from the resource. Okay, these are the annotations. Okay, so I have explained annotations this. Okay, there are many annotations like this. Let me show you. So I have explained these are the annotations. These are the very useful annotations. So similarly, we have a number of annotations for Spring, Spring Boot, Spring Cloud, and Vue. Okay, I will explain high level this time. Next upcoming session, I will show you very clearly. So I will explain very clearly in depth. So I will full details I will explaining in the next upcoming session. What is, you see, these are the Spring annotations, core Spring annotations. So what is the configurations? So what is the bean usually configurations, right? So for suppose if you want read from properties file in the Java, how we are using the props, right? Props equal to new props. So here how we can using this configuration. So I will explain this also. Bean, so employee bean, this component is nothing but an class on top of the class we are mentioning these components. So these all annotations are the core Spring annotations. So request mapping I already explained. Controller is nothing but, you see here, I explained this REST controller, right? So the REST controller in this is in the Spring 6.x. The Spring 1.x we were using REST controller along with the controller. So we were using request body also that time. So nowadays this nobody is using. If you are working in the old projects, then you will see, or else you can ignore this. Okay, and service repository, service annotations and repository I will explain in the next upcoming session, this and all. And these are the Spring Boot annotations. This you already know. This I will explain. The component scan, REST controller, this one, enable auto configurations. These are the Spring Boot annotations. Dependency injection annotations, auto wired, qualifier, value. These are the dependency injections, dependency injection annotation. And AOP, aspected oriented programming. Guys, this I am not going to explain because this is not much useful. Most of the developers, they are using transactional instead of AOP. Transaction internally uses this AOP. So I am not going to explain these things. So I will explain transactional. Okay, that is enough. Okay, and data access annotations. This is for JPA, for storing the data into storing the data from here to here. JPA, storing the data into the database for using the entity classes, JPA entity classes. This and all we can use. And transactional, this is also very important. So if you know this one, so this AOP no need. Okay, because internally transaction also it will use this one. So, and this is the Spring MEVC, Spring request body, response body, path variable, request parameter. So request body I will explain. So that is simple actually. But anyway, I will explain later. Response body also, when we are using controller, we can use for response body, but nowadays no need. And path variable I explained, and request parameter I explained, model attribute, and this I will explain later, next upcoming session. Okay, and these are the valid annotations. I mean, if you mention valid not null, these are the mandatory. So you can mention here. These all are for the validation. Suppose you can mention directly here not null like this. So if you mention not null, so this is not null, definitely you have to give the data like this. Validations, email, suppose if you mention email, that it should be the email format. If it comes into the other format, it will throw exception. And Spring security annotations, this is very important. everything is important, these annotations. Okay, so I will explain this also when I am going to explain the Spring security, right? So that time I will explain this and all. Okay, and Spring Cloud annotations, this is for Spring Cloud. So suppose the Spring Boot microservices architecture, so if we have more than one microservices, so all microservices, right, it will connect it to the one Eureka server. So that time we are going to use these annotations. I will explain in this session also. So for each, right, I will take 1 day session, and these are the test annotations for writing the J test cases. Okay guys, next upcoming session I will explain this and all. Okay, the service layer, this one service, this and all I will explain. Okay, thank you, thanks guys, thanks for watching.